Welcome back. We're now wrapping up our public policy meeting, and the last item is the open microphone session. So, if you have a topic that you'd like to discuss, it could be something that hasn't come up, something that has come up over the last few days, any topic relevant to ARIN, please come up and approach the microphones. Now, because we don't know the topics that people are going to raise, I'll often ask someone, are you going to respond on this topic or a new topic? I ask if you're a new topic, you always pay attention in your queue, step to the side, let people responding on the same topic handle that first. So, starting off, back microphone, identify yourself and your organization, and the question you want to ask.
Thank you very much. It's Michael Pettimores again from Linux Magic. I have a sort of a two-part. Right now, we're involved in, like many organizations, in a lot of threat detection, and during that exercise, we also identify a lot of who is inaccuracy reports. And I commend ARIN for allowing the community to actually help improve the accuracy through the who is inaccuracy reports. However, I'd like to make a suggestion that we actually include a public ticketing system. This will help identify help prevent redundant reports, and it also help those people that are volunteering to help, that they will be able to recognize that these reports are indeed being tracked, responded to, and of course the conclusions to that. Right. And in the B part, I also want to bring up, when we're talking about who is inaccuracy, and this is related to, frankly, a lot of the policies that this group has been working on. One of the things that has been mentioned a lot of times, that with the run out of IPv space, there's very little ability for ARIN to actually enforce the policies that we're describing. And what I would like to see is a little more enshrinement of how ARIN could address cases, such as ongoing cases of who in his accuracy, i.e. whether that is punitive or whether it's restrictive. And it'd be nice to see this actually in policies so that ARIN can rectify these ongoing cases, whether they're accidental or intentional. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay at the microphone, please, because there may be people asking you questions. Yeah, people may ask for clarification. So 2 questions. The first one is you note with respect to fraud reporting, Internet Number Resource fraud reporting, that a public or open ticket system would be more useful, and I'd love to hear other comments from other people on that. And then the second one is with regard to making it clearer ARIN's ability to reclaim number resources in cases of violation of the community policy or terms of the agreement. I'll speak to the second one just for a moment. We do have the ability to reclaim resources that are obtained or that are used contrary to the community policy. Now, we don't do a lot of this. You really have to be a bad actor. If you're fraudulent in your application to ARIN and we can show you're fraudulent, we will do a resource review and wind back that transaction. Community has a section, NRPM Section 12, that specifically provides us a mechanism for doing that. For other violations of policy or other violations of terms of agreement, we'd really like to, in general, work out with the people who are holding the resources to come into compliance, whether it's payment, whether it's contact information, because these numbers are being used to build networks and operational businesses on. When ARIN takes a number resource back, we start by, after about day 145 or so, we turn off the reverse DNS. It gets very exciting for the people using those resources. And so we try not to do this a lot, we really do. But we do have the authority to do so. To the extent that the community wants us revoking more resources for specific violations of NRPM, please call that out. Please say, and if this is not, the organization does not come into compliance, ARIN will revoke the resource per Section 12 fraud review. That's all you have to do. You've got to make the policy proposals, though, that direct us with unambiguous information as to when you want us to take number resources, because it's a big deal. Remember, some of the number resources that we're taking here are number resources that are instrumental to business, so we need to be very careful. Okay?
And sorry, in response to that, wasn't encouraging that we revoke or take them as a first step. I was just asking the community that possibly, for instance, as an example, where there is an inaccurate point of contact information for an ongoing basis, to have the community decide whether that is increased costs on annual costs or whether there is some other form of restriction. But I'd like to leave it to the community to start empowering ARIN with more explicit directives on how to deal with non-compliance with policy.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on that topic? Microphones are open. Yes, Mr. Sweeting.
Yeah, John Sweeting with ARIN RSD. Just to Michael's point, ARIN can do a lot. We can contact these people, but peer pressure from the operators community can fix a lot of things. If you refuse to accept announcements from an AS number that's not in WHOIS, those people quickly come there and say,
right.
I need to pay the last 10 years I haven't paid you and get this put in WHOIS. And it's happening, and it works well. So operators have a lot of power to help us with this too. So.
Right. Excellent point. To some extent, you decide what's acceptable number resource hygiene by what you're willing to accept from your peers. Okay. Next topic, Kathy? I'm sorry, Owen, you're on the same topic.
On the same topic,
Yep.
yes. While I have limited affinity for the idea, what Mr. Pettimore is proposing of possible fines or whatever is not something we can currently do in policy because we're currently specifically restricted from addressing fees, fines, or anything of a monetary nature in policy or even operational matters for that matter. So this kind of artificial boundary and constraint that's been placed on the AC by the board in terms of what we're allowed to address in policy does limit our abilities to address these things in a more holistic manner. And I think 2017-12 is an example of the kind of consequence that occurs there.
So just to be clear, though, the community definitely has the ability to direct ARIN to reclaim and revoke resources because that's direct management of number resources, and it affects what's available and what's in the database and where. Regarding fines and policies, if you come up with something and you say, or apply an appropriate fine or fee, then you can do that in policy, and then we can discuss as an ARIN suggestion exactly what you think that should be. You can specify ARIN should fine someone or penalize someone. You cannot specify the amount. That would ultimately be set by the board based on their fiduciary duties. So there is a way around that hurdle, and then we've actually used that before. You can actually make policy, and then when it comes down to the specific amounts or specific fees, you turn around and use a suggestion process. Okay? Okay. New topic, or anyone on that same topic? Okay, new topic, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy Aronson. I just wondered, do you guys think that the key signing key is going to roll on the 11th? Do you have any thoughts on that? I just kind of expected maybe there'd be a presentation about it, but...
Well, do I think it's going to roll? Last time I talked to ICANN, they said it would. Is there going to be an impact? If there were some researcher who had studied the potential impact,
I seem to remember that.
then we could bring him up to the microphone and have him speak.
It was
Look,
like
Jeff.
It's like he presented at NANOG on this too.
Jeff Houston, APNIC. Yeah, I did present at NANOG on this very topic.
I'm sorry, I wasn't at NANOG, sorry.
In answer to Kathy's specific question, as I understand it, at a board retreat in September, ICANN board retreat in September, they confirmed a plan put forward from their office of the CTO, and as far as I understand it, things are proceeding.
Right.
12 months ago, new data came in from a source that we weren't expecting that gave us all a surprise. It indicated that there was failures with adoption of the key. What it didn't indicate was there were failures in the method of signalling, and that a lot of the issues we were seeing were not translatable into user impact. So while some resolvers were saying, I don't have it, if that resolver is in a pool where the other resolvers are good, you haven't got a problem. If that resolver only services one person, like what's on your phone, you might have a problem, but the other 6 billion folk on the planet will be just fine. We've done a lot of work in the last couple of weeks using a recent version of resolvers that actually behave differently depending on whether they've loaded keys. We have seen nothing in that experiment, which has currently done 120 million experimental points, nothing to indicate that eyeball resolvers are going to face problems. Now, high noise rate, you don't see everyone. Someone is going to get left behind, yes. Will it be catastrophic? Nothing in the data predicts catastrophe. In fact, I think it's all a bit of a mild yawn, but we'll see. But it will proceed as far as I'm aware, and there's been no last-minute data entry to say, oh my God, this is all going to be a problem. As far as we're concerned, the data has said we're looking okay. Thank you.
Jeff's presentation at NANOG was Tuesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. It's up on the NANOG slide. Okay. Anyone else on DNS key signing key rollover? No? Okay, good. Next, Kevin.
Kevin Bloomberg, The Wire. I just want to say maybe there should be a countdown clock so we can all see when our support tickets go up on that, but just a little bit of humor. There's been an interesting 24 hours on the PPML related to DNSSEC. Mostly civil. Thankfully, it didn't devolve. Mostly a very civil discussion, but not very policy related. And I realize that there probably is no better place to have this discussion than PPML, but maybe a suggestion is to slightly expand the scope of what is allowed on the PPML to allow for these types of discussions officially rather than to just allow them to go on when they really shouldn't be going on. Right. I don't think that splitting up into multiple mailing lists, but we are becoming a smaller community over time, and having one singular place to go over these broader issues that might affect the community rather than just policy, because sometimes it's policy, sometimes it's LRSA, sometimes it's this, sometimes that, but it all comes back to the same focal point. Right. And so just a suggestion that maybe a slight expansion officially, rather than saying, is this okay? Should we be talking about this on the PPML?
John, and of course there's the ARIN membership list where right. in theory that is supposed to discuss, but there are obviously not everyone can participate in that. So I think it's a good suggestion whether or not we might need to either have that list have a more open posting and subscription policy, or maybe merge into the one list so that people don't have to be subscribed to multiple lists in a busy one. So I know we can take that under advisement.
We're having the discussion today. It's just the policy, the AUP, the appropriate usage of that list doesn't align with the discussion. Does anyone object to opening up the PPL related to matters related to legacy holders? Because that's really what it is. Because on ARIN Discuss, we can discuss services for all those people who are members, everyone who's has a service agreement, all customers of ARIN. But we have these people who have no agreement and no payment who are legacy resource holders, and PPML is all they have access to. So unless someone thinks opening it up so they can have that discussion there is a bad idea, I would normally agree with you. We should just revise PPML. Does anyone think that's a bad idea? Anyone on the remote queue think it's a bad idea to align the current description of what's allowed in PPML to match the discussions going on? Okay, so we'll work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we got this mic over here, far corner. Yes.
Thank you, John. It's more of a comment, not a question. Gary Campbell, Jamaica, Government of Jamaica. I just want to take the opportunity to commend ARIN on the work that you have been doing in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Outreach Program has been a very wonderful, experience for many persons. It is surprising to just appreciate the fact that so many persons were unaware of ARIN and the work that it has been doing prior to this particular program. So I can only, encourage you to continue the outreach program, continue to build the awareness, and to congratulate you on the work that you have been doing in the Caribbean. Thanks.
Thank you. Very good to hear. The community asked us to do more in the Caribbean. The board gave the staff that direction. We have done more last year, and we have more in our budget coming up, as Bevel covered the other day. Okay, front and center, Mike.
John Springer, I'm a member of the advisory council, but in this context, I'm only speaking for myself as a member of the community. This week, we've had a number of very good discussions about RPKI and the RPA, And I have seemed to sense a willingness on the part of ARIN to engage in this process in a constructive way. Just wondering how to track this.
Sure.
Who's going to engage? Is this going to become an ASCP? Is the board going to deal with it? Is the staff going to deal with it and report back? How's that going to be handled?
So,
I'm first looking around, let me respond. First looking around to see if we have Christopher and David still hiding somewhere. So
Yeah.
the first part of this process is because they're doing an ongoing study on this. Could you two stand up, Christopher and David? From the University of Pennsylvania in an Innovation, Tech, and Competitiveness group. They were doing an active study. So to the extent that people here have views regarding legal impediments to RPKI in the ARIN region, find them and tell them what you think, because that's the first and foremost. Thank you, gentlemen. Their report's due in December. We've said, once there's a report, that I've already been told by the board that we should immediately do a review of that and come up with suggestions for the board to consider. If you think we should do a consultation process, we can do that. But since hopefully everything we're doing makes it better, I actually wouldn't mind doing changes to improve things and then a consultation to see if more can be done. But either way, we can certainly involve the consultation process. The challenge is, of course, that we want to get a report and then we want to respond in a timely manner. Thoughts?
Well, I'm very interested in the subject, and I'm transitioning to a different role here, and I just want to have an idea how to keep an eye on this as time goes by. I like the idea of having a community consultation after you get the report, but just some way that I can put in my tickle file to take a look at this.
I suspect that in Q1 of next year, the board will be coming out with something once we've done a review for sure, either be a consultation or what we've come out with.
Thank you.
Thank you. More on this topic, RPKI in the ARIN region? Yes, Rudiger?
Rüdiger Volk. Previous speaker, I think, made the major point. I would like to make sure that, different from the last time, I think this was actually brought up, I think in Baltimore. The board actually took action, and well, okay, the only thing that actually happened was a slide set was presented, as far as I can tell, and nothing happened afterwards. And there was obviously also no publicity and, well, okay, unfortunately, no public outcry about inactivity.
Your assessment about what's changed over the years is actually probably you have a perception issue in that regard. So we started out with an ARIN relying party agreement, which for parties to obtain had to go to a specific website, enter your email address, which we logged, and then we emailed you a link to the TAL. We emailed you the TAL, a link to the TAL, giving us a log of everyone who had agreed, very useful for purposes of knowing who you have an agreement with. After this was raised by the community as potentially unnecessary or excessive, we went back and did additional studies, had outside experts talk about how to achieve a reasonable agreement without a bigger hurdle. This resulted in the next change, which was that we ended up saying that you can go to the website, and when you go to the website, you can click a box and specifically say, I accept the terms and conditions, which the community said, well, that's better, but not what we wanted. We actually then ended up doing more studies, involved more outside experts on what exactly is necessary to get a contract in the US. We got to the point where the TAL is literally on the web page with a paragraph that says, download me, but by the way, you're bound to an agreement by doing so. So you don't have to separately click to accept an agreement to get ARIN's RPKI TAL. We've had quite an evolution over the years, though if you're looking at it saying, I know what my target is and ARIN's still not there, no, ARIN is still not where your target is, but that doesn't mean we haven't been getting closer and closer. We've expended an enormous amount of energy attempting to be responsible in rolling out this service, and at the same time making sure that we don't endanger everything else we do. Okay?
Okay, so You used the thrust of a large jet plane and you moved 2 inches.
Some jets are heavier than other, particularly in the U.S. Yes, front microphone on the same topic?
Yes, Michael Sinatra, ESNet, and apparently PPML rules bender of the week. I'm shifting gears a little bit away from the TAL into the actual agreement that you sign when you are going to sign your resources in the RPKI. And I'm wondering if there are materially different at this point, major material differences in the agreement you sign for that ability versus the RSA, LRSA process, and if they could possibly be folded together and streamlined so that when I sign an LRSA, I can now, and, you know, ARIN says, congratulations, you can now sign these resources in the RPKI, or generate rows in the RPKI.
To my knowledge, the indemnification and related clauses are similar, but we do bring them forth in front of you to make it explicit. We will take an action to look to see if they can be combined.
Thanks.
Still open on the RPKI topic. Yes, go ahead.
Just had David Farmer, University of Minnesota, Aaron East. He just had a quick thought on that one. If it could maybe be presented, if it's separate document or an attachment to the document, but if it could be presented at the same time so that we can do one round with the lawyers instead of 2 or 3 rounds with the lawyers, would be kind of handy.
I want to make sure I understand your question. If I take it literally, you're saying when someone wants to sign an RSA with ARIN, you want us to also put the RPKI services terms and conditions in front of them at the same time, even if they may not say they have any interest in RPKI?
Well, they may not know they want it yet, and so but they probably will.
Right. So I'm gonna point something out that may be true. RSAs, every time we vet a resource for someone to get an RSA, for them to potentially do a transfer, for them to potentially use it, you're putting it in the org recovery step, and that's a very high workflow. So I'm not sure it's practical to put 2 agreements in front of them. I think what was asked earlier is if we can make sure that we don't need a second agreement, that might be better.
And I agree with that. But what I was trying to say is, it's not that I want you to put it in front of them. Make it known that it exists, so that if they wish to review it at the same time, they can.
Oh. Okay, I will take that under. I'm trying to think how we can point out to people there are specific service terms for other services. If you're going to your lawyer, print them out and put them in the folder too. Okay, understood. Point taken. Still on RPKI, Christopher, did you want to come speak? I'm sorry, is the speaker at the microphone RPKI or a different topic? Different topic. Christopher.
So, Christopher Yu from the University of Pennsylvania. We are engaging in the National Science Foundation study, as was mentioned earlier. For those of you, in answer to John's specific question about keeping track of this, we made a presentation about this at NANOG, both in the main session and in the security track, a smaller presentation. It is our expectation to submit a proposal to speak at the next NANOG, updating on where things stand, because that will be after the report actually issues, and talk in specific terms about what's going on. We are talking about 2 separate issues in some ways, actually 3 separate issues. One is about forming a contract, what's required, but also the content of the contract. I will say that the conversations we've had with the community, both at NANOG and at this ARIN meeting, have been incredibly influential in shaping our thinking. We're discovering we're still learning more the more we talk to different people, and a more diverse range of people in terms of roles, in terms of the organizations they represent. And I would really sincerely invite anyone interested in this topic to talk to us, because the best way we can incorporate your concerns and the concerns of organizations like yours into what we do is to talk with you. And that's still what you'll discover in interview-based methodologies. You often stop hearing new things and it converges. I'm still concerned, I'm still hearing new things, which tells me that I still need to talk to more people to make sure we fully understand the issues. So I really, the success of moving this project forward depends upon your willingness to engage if not with us, but with some appropriate venue. So please, this is considered an open invitation. We've also offered to John and the ARIN board, with whom we've had incredibly productive discussions and really illuminating ones, we are happy to make whatever presentations to the ARIN community in whatever format it would be the most helpful to make sure that people remain informed about the progress we're making. And we will certainly, once the report is issued by the year end, it'll be publicly available because it's a National Science Foundation project. We will make it a point to make sure it's circulated in the appropriate way on both the NANOG and ARIN communication lists.
Thank you. Excellent. Anything else on RPKI? Okay, next topic.
This is Michael Boy. I'm candidate for NRONC Council. And it's just a suggestive question. Many a times we find out that countries in the Caribbean, they have different needs. You know, a need for a country like Jamaica may not be the same as a country like Cuba or whatever. And we find out many a times that a project can be denied collaboration because that country is not part of the IRR. So this is a suggestion. Is there any way that we can have a platform where LACNIC and ARIN can have a platform where there will be collaboration? And then let's say a country wants to move from one let's say the country wants to move from from LACNIC to ARIN. What are the conditions there?
Sure. So let me talk about your first point first, which is on collaboration. To my knowledge, all of the RIRs have open processes. So you truly can participate in ARIN's processes for policy development, in our public consultations on operational issues, regardless of where you are. If you're in a country that's an ARIN member, a Caribbean country that's a LACNIC member, if you're in Antarctica, if you're able to get signals from space and you're an alien who can type, you can still participate in our processes. I have no objection. So our processes are completely open to collaboration from anyone, regardless of where they're from. And I believe the RIRs are very much the same way regarding the openness of the dialogue. So there shouldn't be a difficulty there. It is true that we do have service regions, and ARIN has a service region that was established back when ARIN was originally the rest of the world service region, aside from APNIC and RIPE. And then over time, LACNIC was formed by the community there, and then AFRINIC was formed. When those regions formed, there was a list of countries that participated. To the extent that a country believes it needs to move from one RIR to another, it's a conversation with both RIRs. I've not heard that there's anything that makes that impossible, but it is very much the case that a country needs to be of one mind. So the network operator community in that country has to be able to say collectively, for some reason we believe that this country should be serviced by another RIR. We haven't had that happen to date because, again, all the RIRs are open and allow collaboration. You can participate and benefit in the discussions in both regions. But if it is necessary to have a discussion about the boundaries of regions, go to the RIR that's serving you, have that discussion. If they, if you can show that your community collectively wants to be served, then we don't know of any reason why that can't be updated. It's truly supposed to serve the network operator community in that part of the region. Okay? Questions on that? Anything related? Nope. Kevin, new topic? Go ahead.
Kevin Bloomberg, The Wire. So I recently went to the NRPM in Section 6 to get some space. IPv6, it's easy. We've got IPv4.
Yep.
And realized that if I was an internet service provider, it'd be click, done, no justification required. And if I'm an end user, I need to go through more steps. And that's policy related, and I get all of that. Basically, I can throw a little bit of money at the problem, become an ISP, and make my life easier with ARIN, or I can spend more time and be an end user, which seems a little defeatist. But I know that the community and ARIN have been looking at merging and bringing those two areas together over time. I know with the services, the membership services allotment, etc. And my question is, where is the end trajectory? When are we getting closer to us combining them and making it a much simpler experience for everybody, when there is really very little difference between the two these days, except significantly in policy, but not in reality? So when are that, what is the trajectory to bringing those to a more uniform point?
To make sure, the them you're referring to in those last 6 sentences was end user and ISP.
Correct.
Not V4 and V6.
Correct.
Okay, just double checking. So with respect to how do we achieve unity between V4 and between end user and ISP regarding policy and services, I'll note, by the way, in ARIN, we're pretty close on the services. So to that extent, while we do have an end user fee, any end user can turn around and say, I want to be an ISP, pay the ISP fee schedule, and transition to the ISP fee schedule. We don't have a clear distinguishing difference of services between end users and ISPs. That's been discussed, but we're really looking for community guidance and whether that's necessary. So for ARIN, operationally, we're already there. It's what policy you give us. And what your policy really needs to think about is this cooperative agreement, this cooperative venture called the number registry. If you don't mind a simple policy for getting a new prefix, give me an end user prefix, then hit a button and do it. There have been people in the community historically who have said it's important to have some back pressure on direct end user assignments because direct end user assignments need to be individually routed and are not aggregated. And so this is really a community question. Do you feel as though if anyone can go and get an end user assignment and it's a nominal fee and it's nominal policy, will ISPs feel an impact from having many, many customers who go do it?
Right, and I guess what I'm saying is in 2018, with the 6-inch goggles of where we're at, I can't really tell a difference anymore in the majority of cases between the two. The fact that they can just simply be an ISP and the fee is just a little bit more kind of eradicates. 10 years ago there was a very big difference, and we've really come to a head. So I guess maybe for the community,
right.
If it's only about the money, that's one thing, but we've got a lot of complicated policy in here to separate the two, and there's really no difference anymore between the two.
Acknowledged. On this topic of end user versus ISP split? Yes, go ahead.
David Farmer, University of Minnesota, ARIN AC. You said on the services side there's no difference or virtually no difference.
Less difference than before.
Yeah, I agree that, but there's still a difference in that basically end users can't reassign, and that's kind of a service.
Right.
Okay.
Reassignment services are for ISPs, not for end user blocks.
Yeah.
And that's, again, up to you folks.
And that's probably the only, on the services side, the only significant difference.
That, to our knowledge, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And
yes.
To speak to that, David, Kevin Bloomberg, The Wire. I think a number of organizations have used that to their favor to not have to SWIP their space. It's actually like, it's not a positive, it's a negative these days.
Not arguing that, I just was trying to clarify. Not arguing that, just wasn't trying to I was trying to clarify the statement. That's
yes,
all.
whether it's a bug or a feature is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, any other questions? Open mic session is closing shortly. Any remote questions? Yes, rear microphone.
Martin Levy, Cloudflare. I must commend ARIN over the years to reach out to the operator community. This is a long-standing issue and has done very well with things like this week of being with the NANOG meeting. But I would point out, and I don't think there was any solution to this, the next meeting in Barbados overlaps the same week as the Global Peering Forum. I don't think either party is an error, but and so it's unfortunate, but I still take this as a commending statement at the microphone.
Okay.
I don't think it can really be fixed, and I don't know how.
There's an informal mechanism for coordinating internet community meetings. I guess, do you know how far out GPF does its planning?
Actually, a year. This
A
one
year.
I do know. They planned it a year ago from April last year.
And do they look at
a NSRC calendar, and that's why it's unclear who hiccuped on this one, but so be it.
Wow. So there's another calendar that we are all also looking at. We all end up looking at, is it ICANN or ISOX? ISOX.
Yep.
ISOX calendar. We are also running out of meeting weeks. I'm going to just point this out.
Yeah.
It turns out that the number of organizations times the average number of meetings per org is greater than 52 for the internet community. So, but point taken, we'll redouble our efforts when we're looking.
Yeah, it's still said as 99% commencement and 1% whoops.
Thank you. Microphones open. Closing shortly. Go ahead.
Ovidio Viorica, New Mexico. Quick comment. I know we are a little behind. I truly appreciate the fellowship program, and as a very good way to get new people involved in this process. And many thanks to the team effort to make that happen.
Thank you. We'll point that out. The board's here. They can hear it. We're well committed to our fellowship program. We've expanded it over the years. We've had accolades pretty much right across the board, and good to hear. Okay, if there are no other comments, I'm going to be closing open mic. Last chance. That ends the open mic session.